like, well, actually a lot of online platforms that allowed us to keep on teaching in the same way, almost the same way that we did before in class. And next, please. We also found tools for asynchronous teaching and homework through LMS platforms and various other tools like Flipgrid, Quizlet, Kahoot, Edmodo, Padlet, and, well, so many other tools, useful tools for everybody. However, next, please. The big question is, can we engage and connect to our learners when we are not together physically? How can we do that? Well, this is the time to think connecting to our students more than anything else, actually. So are there any ways to do that? Is there a way to connect to them while we're behind our screens like we are now? Actually, let's see. There are some ideas. Next, please. Well, the adolescent community of engagement framework gives us one idea. This was suggested by the researchers Jared Borup, Richard West, Charles Graham, and Randall Davis, and they said that student engagement is created and enhanced by the involvement of three key players in any online teaching experience: teachers, parents, and peers. And the more we are able to engage teachers, parents, and peers, the more it is likely for learners to be engaged and connected as well. And we can see that in the next slide, where this triangle gets full. Well, when engagement is low, there is low student engagement. But when engagement is high, next, please. You see that this triangle gets filled. So, starting off with the teachers, it is very, very important in order to focus on connecting to our learners. Teachers first need to feel secure and confident. As a teacher, I know all the work that goes into teaching under typical, normal circumstances. What we've been doing for the last few months, teaching through this coronavirus pandemic, is far from typical. It's so different. So we can imagine that this requires far more work than anything else. So first of all, think that it is okay. It is very okay to miss our normal. It is very okay to miss human connection, to miss our class, to miss our learners. It's not unusual. But you may be grieving, let's say, the loss of normal, but think of it as we're creating history. I mean, we are the very first teachers to tackle a challenge like this one. Years from now, 2020 will be considered as the year where the whole society had to go on working from a distance and still keep functioning as a society. Now, we have to realize that what we are doing matters. So immediately we've designed distance learning plans, though we were not all of us were trained for this, but we reacted immediately and we designed learning plans. We adapted our teaching rapidly. We reacted immediately and we're still teaching. You may not feel like this, but we're still teaching, yes. I mean, those social emotional skills that our students get this time, I don't think they would ever find in any curriculum so far, in any English curriculum so far. So when that Zoom meeting didn't work out, but you still found some solutions, they were taught flexible thinking and perseverance. When they saw you, teachers, try to keep connected to them, and still care for your family, for your loved ones. They learned about empathy and compassion, so we still teach our learners. Plus, we gain new knowledge and expertise. We didn't know I personally didn't know any of those online platforms before the pandemic. I wasn't very used to that. I wasn't very accustomed to using that. I didn't know most of these tools that I've been using now, I didn't know before the pandemic. So we gain new knowledge, we gain new expertise. So do not be too strict on yourself and expect a lot of trial and an error period. Try to use tools that you're already familiar with. Try to find new ideas, but think that you don't need to implement everything at once. Choose those tools that are easy for you to use. Try to find ready-made solutions that can work in your situation. Share experiences with other teachers. You might find answers to some problems that you've had. You might see how somebody else dealt with that problem. Take it step by step. You don't need to do everything at once. You don't need to use all of these tools that are available at once. Take it one by one. Emphasize your presence through regular announcements and quick communication. This is something that the parents will find very, very helpful. Even if it is just a hello, a daily hello, even if it is just a daily reminder of the tasks that they have to do or the projects that they have to do. Try to be there for them. Try to be there. And of course, take care of yourself. Because if you're not feeling very well, you won't be able to carry out such a difficult task. Next, please. Thank you, Natalia. Next step is how to engage and connect with parents. This is a very, very important step because connecting with parents is necessary because especially younger learners need the parent support. So, a very important step is that you connect with parents systematically, but keep it short and focused. And plus, use multiple forms of communications with families so they won't miss any important information. Try to put it in the platform or send an email or send text messages, whatever tools are available to you. But try to keep it short and focused because if there are a lot of teachers, I don't know what the situation was in Kazakhstan, to tell you the truth. I mean, if students had to do online distance learning with their schools as well, general schools like topics and issues such as physics, maths, and so on. So you can imagine that many teachers contacting their parents might create some kind of confusion. So yes, do connect with them in multiple ways. Be there, but do not make it overwhelming. Do not make it too difficult for them to understand what's going on. Number 2, provide a schedule. A schedule is very important, such as a detailed syllabus, due dates and schedule, and clear assignment directions and dates, because this will create familiarity and they will feel like they're going back to normal again. But take families' new home schedules into account. If you're doing online learning, you might need to adjust your schedule. You might need to adjust the time and dates of your teaching because depending on the technology that is available to the students, you might need to schedule a different time schedule just to be convenient for them. Plus, offer tech support. Try to offer tech support. You could create some short videos, or you could provide the parents with notes on how to help them understand how to access their content, where to find homework, how they can work, how they can check the students' assignments, and so on and so forth. Also, keep in mind that minimizing parental involvement is ideal because, some parents are not very familiar with technology. So if we can try to minimize their presence and their help, that would be ideal. Try to survey parents. Their opinion counts. What they found easy, what they found difficult, what would be more convenient to them. And try to keep them informed about their kids' progress. It's very important that they know how they're doing, maybe on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis, depending on what you used to do before. And a nice idea would be to hold online parents' meetings as well. The same way you have an online class, an online lesson, try to have an online parents' meeting. In this meeting, you can share important information with them, and they can also ask you directly questions they may have, or they might share any problems they have. They might share any worries they have. That would be very, very useful. Next, please. Thank you. Now, okay. There's a picture there that's not very clear, but I'll help you with that. Try to take more time. Engaging with students and peers is very, very important. Try to take more time to connect with your students now than you did with face-to-face instruction. If you can have a student-led tech support, that would be ideal, because students who are very familiar with technology could help the other ones on where to find the information or how to upload their projects and their issues and their projects, work, homework, anything they need to. Try to connect with each student individually as well, because this way they might be free to share worries, ideas, they wouldn't do otherwise. They wouldn't do on a group level. Share things with them, show them your room, show them your pet maybe, and let them share as well. Let them share something that has to do with their hobbies or their interests. For example, their guitar, or something they're interested about, their skateboards maybe. Let them share whatever they want to share with you in the class. Try to create a routine. This gives them a sense of familiarity and security, actually, because they know what's coming next. And try to establish your welcome. Arrive early, open the space, greet everyone by their name as you get in, as they come in the room, and a nice idea like this picture that you can see. Have a welcome image as they come in, because this can help them anchor their senses. This can help you actually anchor their senses. For example, in this picture that you can see, I had a background with some toys, because this was a lesson I needed to do on toys. This was a primary class, and I needed to start a lesson on toys. And I had this image behind me, a background. Actually, this is a Zoom background. And this helped me anchor their senses. We started off with toys. We started a discussion on that. And this was a very nice warm-up, actually. Next, please. Try to use some icebreakers as they come in, like a daily mood check-ins. You can ask them to choose an emoji for how they feel, or they can choose a word for how they feel, or they can choose a color for how they feel. This depends on the level, actually. And you don't need the background story. You don't need them to tell you why they feel this way. Just how they feel. It's a check-in, and it's important. Well, for younger ones, you can actually have some craft work ideas, like this little kid over there who has a paper plate, and he drew a happy face, or they can draw a sad face, whatever face they feel that they are more comfortable with. So you can make it as a craft work. Number 2, you can have a stretch out activities with them in front of cameras. Yes, like in this lesson where we needed to teach up and down and left and right, we had a stretch out with the teacher stretching up and down and left and right, and they did it all together in front of their cameras. And yes, this was fun. Next, please. Another interesting icebreaker is a game I call Little White Lies, and this is an idea I got from The Tonight Show. Well, they call it a box of lies there. And this is an interesting idea. I mean, a student can have an object out of camera view. This can be a toy, this can be an object, this can be anything you feel like. He or she has to describe this object, and he's free to lie or tell the truth about it. But the rest have to guess whether he or she is telling the truth or not. Can we watch the video? Just to get an idea. Is it easy to do?
A box of lies. Okay, now just need a box of lies.
Just to get the idea, you know, because
No,
it's fun. Yes, thank you.
All right. Oh, he's not even looking. That's interesting. Then I'm assuming you're lying.
Thank you.
If you're not even looking at.
I'll tell you what it is.
This is an interesting move. I've never seen this before. Okay.
Ooh. Is that real?
He said that about the last one. Okay.
I don't think it's very nice to do this to this thing. Maybe it's an omnivorous creature, but it's.
You're trying to use big words to trick me? Gosh.
It's a skull, and it's bedazzled. I think it might be a raccoon, or it could be maybe a fox. But
Is it a herbivore or a carnivore?
No, it's got pointy teeth. So I think it's maybe a predator, or maybe it's something that eats a bunch of stuff like a raccoon or like a possum or something.
This is interesting because you last time you lied to me. No, you were told the truth, but you acted like you were lying, like you didn't know.
Right.
And now you're acting like, you don't know. Like, I don't know. It could be a thing. I don't know. I've never seen teeth before. You know. I've never seen teeth before. I mean, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. You have teeth. You brush them every day, in the morning and at night. Chris Pratt, you are telling the truth.
Oh, no, I'm not.
No, you're not. He's a master. You are a master. All right. Oh, he's not even looking. That's interesting.
Thank you.
Then I'm assuming you're lying. If you're not even looking.
Okay.
I'll tell you what it is.
This is an interesting move. I've never seen this before.
Okay, it's the same thing. It's the same idea.
Okay.
Oh.
So you get the idea. Activities like this can help the teacher start the lesson on a high note as well. But, well, it's fun for the pupils, and it's an interesting icebreaker that you can use along with the rest of them. Thank you. Next, please. Now, try not to exaggerate with homework. Just because, well, during the quarantine period, just because they were at home, it didn't mean that we had to load them with homework. Try to be rational with them. And an interesting idea is to use flipped classroom techniques. You don't want to be just a talking head in front of a camera. It would be interesting to send links to the pupils of like videos they can watch or a presentation they can watch maybe, and then be ready with activities when you connect online with them. So try to use some flipped classroom ideas. Evaluation is very important. I've had many questions regarding evaluation during the quarantine period or during online teaching. I mean, how you can evaluate pupils this way. Feedback, yes, builds human bridges. This is true because everybody needs to know how they're doing. First of all, however, think about evaluating lessons and materials. Before you try to evaluate students, try to evaluate your lessons and materials. Like, what trends do I see in my student participation? What are the possible causes for that? What am I learning about my students as participants of my virtual classroom? This is information that can be very, very useful for a teacher. What could I do to make learning more friendly mentally and emotionally? Or they can help you with some kind of evaluation, maybe like let's say a poll. You can create a poll, or you can have a survey with your students as well. What was easy for them? What did they find difficult? What did they like? What did they not like? That's useful information for you. Then, as far as evaluating students is concerned, we all understand that evaluating students online will not be the same as what we did in the class, but still it is evaluation, and we can evaluate them in a different way. You can have them create videos and audios, or you can have them make writing assignments that they can send you. You can have progress tests through online forms if you would like an assessment and evaluation closer to what you did in the classroom. You can have fun quiz software like Kahoot or Quizlet. You can create nice quizzes with those tools. You can ask them to do some projects that they can share with, or they can have presentations, online presentations on camera. If you're using an LMS system, an LMS platform, you can keep an eye on their progress, because if you see low performance, you can actually realize it immediately and revisit the same, grammar point, vocabulary area you need to see again. So this gives you, yes, learning management systems give you important information. Plus, you can use some gamification tools. They can give a great sense of progress and achievement to students. Gamification is a very, very interesting idea, especially as far as evaluation is concerned. You can use badges, score points, game time, virtual prizes, missions, or user clans and their leaderboards, how they're doing. These are tools that offer a great sense of achievement to your students, and they're directly linked to neuroscience. So you can have multiple benefits using gamified evaluation and gamification tools. Next, please. These are some ideas of projects that you can use with your students. These are actually taken from actual books, like project number 1, collect information about landmarks in your country tourists should visit, under the headings what, where, when, made of, who by, and create a brochure. So they can create a brochure, and then they can use this information to give a presentation about landmarks in their country or in any other country you feel like. Or music appreciation. Choose a piece of music and draw a picture or think a story that is related to that. This is a nice idea as well. Or prepare a 2-minute video about being a responsible traveler. Use these ideas provided in the book, or use their own ideas. These are things that students can prepare. They can easily prepare, and you can evaluate them on these content as well, which is more fun. It definitely shows the level of English, and it is a way to evaluate students online. Next, please. Or digital assessment, as we said before. This is information we got from an LMS system, where you can see the scores of the students, the scores, how they did in every exercise you've assigned, and some of these gamification tools, such as badges or score points that they can have, and they're very, very encouraging for the learners. Next, please. Now, you can create challenging and creative educational experiences online that enrich and extend their abilities. These are peer-to-peer interaction activities, and this is involving the peers, actually, what the adolescent model gave us. For example, live chats and discussions or surveys, fun through apps they can use, storytelling, role plays, and improvisations. We'll get an idea on each one separately. Now, this graph shows that students in Philip's class like doing in their free time. So they can actually survey. They can have a survey with their classmates, and then they can present it to class. Or, next, please. You can have storytelling. Well, we all love a good story. Now, I believe that teachers are very, very familiar with storytelling. This is a lovely idea anyway, because stories tap into emotions. But if you could try and use some virtual background or unique art to spark their imagination. Well, during the pandemic, during the quarantine, the Japanese animation studio, Studio Ghibli, made available some backgrounds to be used as, well, Zoom or Skype or whatever you want backgrounds. And these are scenes taken from their most famous animation movies. So imagine giving them a picture and try to create a story about this picture. So you can either, next please, here are some backgrounds that I've chosen. You can give them the picture and they can start this. You can start the story. You can have random student add the next line. You can start like once upon a time and then select the students randomly by unmuting their microphones. You can have frequent story recaps and then you can enjoy the story. Another idea would be to assign a picture to every student and have them write a story, their own story about this picture as homework. And the next time they can have this picture on their background and share the story with you. That would be an interesting idea as well. Next, please. Well, these are some more backgrounds by Studio Ghibli. Next, please. And, well, role plays. One would say that how can you have role plays while you're online, where you're dependent on digital technology? Yes, you can. But the thing is that what situations can you think of where it would be natural for people to communicate and act out a dialogue through screens? One idea would be to pretend that you're in a newsroom, like, next please, like the news at 6, for example, where students can be reporters or meteorologists or politicians or activists or famous, important people, regular, everyday people, whatever. You can think of situations, various situations, depending on the level of the pupils and depending on what you want to take back from them. Like the language you need to take, such as, well, if you want the past tenses, you can have them write stories about what happened the previous day. So they can be reporters and they can report different news stories on TV from different part of the country or different parts of the world, like news, sports events, festivals, interviews with famous people, activists being interviewed on environmental issues, or even politicians debating on camera on social issues. That depends on the student's level of language, actually, and age, of course. You can have some props ready, like toy microphones. You can see this little girl with a toy microphone there, or appropriate dress codes. I mean, if you are the news presenter, you need to be wearing smart clothing. So you can think of ideas, and this would be very natural for all the class to be behind a camera and still presenting things, having improvisations or having role play activities. Next, please. Well, another interesting idea, this is a dialogue taken from a course book, and you can have students practice this dialogue at home and act it out in front of camera, or even better, if you don't want to waste a lot of time, they can practice it at home. They can connect and record it. Well, two students can record this dialogue online, and then they can send it back to you to review. That would be an interesting idea, an interesting role play as well. Next, please. Well, mind the gap. Keep in mind that you might have students with more severe challenges, like no internet or no computers, or some learning differences, maybe like dyslexia or dysgraphia or other specific learning difficulties. So in this way, you can have some paper and pencil tasks and activities that can be mailed or delivered at home. You can ask them to read stories and do activities, or they can even do a reading log. I mean, how many books I've read during this period. They can write and draw their own stories or comic stories. They can work on projects. You can have the pen pal idea. It would be interesting. It would be nice to exchange letters one another. Or you can have various ideas. I mean, these are just a few. And plus, you can update parents and students via phone calls daily. You can inform parents about their progress via phone calls. Actually, you can have a badge reward system for every 2, 3, 5 books they read, that you can have a reward system too. Next, please. They can keep a journal. This goes from both online and students who cannot go online. Diary entries. They can create, short videos. What was it like to live through the 2020 pandemic? Things to write about. What are you excited or worried about? Or write a letter to your future self. What would you tell your future self? You can see this dialogue was written by one of my students. She imagined herself as the grandma who, let's say in 50 years from now, talked to her grandchild about the pandemic. So you see that she wrote, "Hi, Grandma, how are you? I wanted to tell you that today we talked about the pandemic of COVID-19 in 2020. I remember you told me you were 12 years old then. Oh, yes, Artemis, I was 12 then. It was very strange for me. It was the first time I was in quarantine. Wow, Grandma, what did you do every day? I woke up at 7:30, and so on and so forth." You can read it through. So she wrote a dialogue. She didn't write a text or something. She wrote a dialogue between a grandma who lived the pandemic and the grandchild. What I enjoyed most about it is saying, did you use a computer? They're so old now. Yes, they are old, but in 2020, it was a very modern tool of the high technology. We had English, French, Greek, and maths lessons. And the grandchild says, at least you didn't have the teacher's hologram walk in your room when you're sick. Well, this might be possible in 50 years' time, who knows? Next, please. Other things to write about is, what part would you play? Well, you can have a list of jobs that have contributed to the pandemic outbreak and write about which job you'd want and why. Or over the last week, one thing that was hard for you was what? What did you do to overcome this difficulty? Who helped you succeed? Or in the last week, you succeeded in doing what? Who helped you? What are the strengths of our class? So you can see there are various ideas that you can use. In the pandemic, in the quarantine period, John Bon Jovi, I believe we all know him, asked his fans to help him write a song about the quarantine. He said, tell me what you're going through, tell me how you're feeling, talk about being afraid, looking out of your window. So let's watch the next 2 videos to see what happened. The first one with John Bon Jovi asking his fans to help him write a song, and then an elementary school teacher did this with his students, and look what happened. Can we take a look at the videos, please?
From Ryder, we have extra time for family and days to having fun, even though it's kind of scary. Together we are one. I can't wait. my friends again. It's something that we pray. We miss Daddy when he goes to work, but he must save the day. So there you go, guys. From Ryder, we have extra time for family and days to having fun, even though it's kind of scary. Together we are one. I can't wait to see my friends again.
These are trying times.
So he appeared in their Zoom class, and this is what he asked.
One thing is for sure, we're going to make it through. Now, I did what I do best, which was to sit down with my guitar and try to put something to words for you, maybe to brighten up your day. Here's my idea. We write this one together. I'm going to give you the chorus. I'm going to give you the first verse. I'm going to play the second verse, but you tell me your story. Tell me what you're going through. Tell me how you're feeling. Tell me if you're hurting. Talk about that high school graduation that's going to be canceled. Talk about that prom you just might not have. Talk about that baby coming that there's nothing you can do about that. Talk about the paycheck that you're losing. Talk about being afraid, looking out your window and wondering what to make of all this. Just remember, we're going to get through it. So sing your song, you and me, together. And remember, when you can't do what you do what you can. These are trying times we're going through. Uncharted territory, the great unknown. But one thing is for sure, we're going to make it through.
So you saw that he appeared in front of the class. The teacher contacted the secretary. It's okay with the video, thank you.
Here's my idea.
Thank you. The students wrote their own experiences, and he appeared in front of the class in one of their Zoom meetings. And you saw what happened. I mean, the little kids were excited that they helped John Bon Jovi write his next song. So have your students write. You never know what's going to happen. I don't know if John Bon Jovi would sing that, but who knows? You never know unless you try. Next, please. These are the videos. Next, please. We saw that. These are my references. All those ideas I've took from all of these books, articles, and websites. And next, they're available to you. And what is very, very true is that the learning space has bloomed, and not because of the tech, not because of the technology only, because of our mutual care and enthusiasm for the community connection. So stay safe, stay connected, be flexible. Of course, it's definitely more preferable to teach face-to-face, but if this cannot be done because of the pandemic, be flexible and still, yes, it's not the same, but it's not less than that. You can connect to your pupils. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for your help, Natalia.
Thank you, Karen, for your great presentation. Thank you that found time for your great job. Thank you, Express Publishing.
Thank you, thank you. We hope you have a great school year ahead of you. We're all starting, we're all very, very enthusiastic about this new school year. And we're trying to be optimistic here.
Yes, fully agree with you, fully. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It was an honor for me to be in front of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Так, надеюсь, меня всем слышно. Вот здесь начинают писать в чате, задают вопросы. Уважаемые коллеги, преподаватели, учителя, не переживайте. Всю информацию, которую вы сейчас просматриваете, все презентации, мы все вышлем вам на сайт, то есть на вашу электронную почту. А почту сейчас высылать нам не нужно, потому что при регистрации ваша почта автоматически сохраняется. И очень такая для вас сейчас важная информация. По завершению вебинара сегодня, завтра, вам, уважаемые учителя, будет выслан сертификат международный за участие в нашем вебинаре. Плюс вы все, кто сейчас присутствует на данном вебинаре, вы получаете поурочные планы, вы получаете КТП с 1 по 11 класс. То есть 11 класс – это 2 направления у нас, вы знаете, Aspect и Action. Поэтому у кого плохая слышимость, все презентации, которые вы сейчас просматриваете, всю информацию, которую вы сейчас получили до этого, не переживайте, вся эта информация плюс ссылка с записью на данный вебинар вам будет выслана. Поэтому, уважаемые коллеги, по завершению вебинара к вам придет еще такая небольшая ссылочка, линк. Я еще в конце вебинара напомню, то есть это небольшой фидбэк такой провести, небольшая такая вот анкетка, которые вы должны будете заполнить. Ну и следующее мы хотели бы представить, дать слово Расселу Стандарту, который является также the ILT Consultant of Express Publishing in Greece and in Great Britain, с его замечательной темой Distance Learning in Our Conditions. Поэтому готовимся, не переживайте, если у кого-то зависает видео, всю данную информацию вы получите по завершению вебинара.
And obviously at the moment there's massive interest, particularly in teaching online. So I'm doing this talk sponsored by Express Publishing. I don't actually work for Express Publishing, but I do write a blog for them. I do have very strong connection with them, sometimes do talks for them, and they are very kind and also sponsor my website. So what we're going to hope to do today is to really give you an introduction into teaching online and give you a really clear direction in which to go and in which to think about how you might shift from a normal face-to-face class to delivering 100% online. Many of us are in that situation at the moment because of coronavirus, and that's why Express Publishing asked me to do this talk. So this is the one place you will find me at Express Publishing, and that is that I write on Teachers Corner. I have a kind of blog that I keep for them, and you'll find lots of articles there about ELT, about language teaching, and sometimes about language teaching and technology. And there will be some new blog posts coming up in the next few days specifically about teaching English online. So if someone was to ask me, Russell, what's the minimum you need to teach online? I would say there are two things. First of all, you need a platform where you can organize all the content that you want to share with your students. That might be the PDF files and the videos and content from the course books and videos that the publishers have created. There's going to be a place where you want the students to log on and feel part of a class. Even though they're not physically going in a class, you can get them to kind of log in, and they'll see that their friends are there and they can discuss things with their friends as well, and they can see that the teacher's there, and they can see the homework that's been set and the activities that have been created. And we call that a platform. And we'll talk about these platforms in a bit more detail, but basically we need to have some sort of platform, some kind of place that's almost psychologically, it's the kind of place where the students think, yeah, that's my classroom. And then the other part of that is that they need some live input, they need some teaching, they need a live session. And so there's another technology that's going to do that. So basically we need to learn, if we can, to work with two technologies: a platform for organizing the content, and I'll speak in more detail about that, and then something to do the live sessions. Now there are lots of these platforms around. Let's focus first of all on the platform. There's things like Schoology and Edmodo, and then at the university level, for example, you see things like Moodle and Blackboard. There's a new one now that's becoming quite popular called Canva. So we have these kind of platforms that help us to organize the students and get them organized into classes and sharing content with them, etc. Probably one of the most common ones we'll find in ELT is Edmodo. It's quite popular. Lots of teachers use Edmodo. It's quite popular, for example, in Spain and in Italy, and it's often the one that's been that's language schools and language organizations have chosen to work with. It does fit really nicely into that kind of idea of being able to create a class and then your students log into the class and you can then share content with them. And it also has a very similar feel to Facebook, so people like it because they go onto it and intuitively they kind of understand exactly how the system works. So it's a very natural system. Natural, I say that because most of us are kind of used to working with Facebook. So we're going to look at Edmodo in a minute because it is a really useful tool. But before that, let's just think a little bit more in detail about what these platforms do and why we need to have one. So basically, a platform has three functions. It allows us to organize our students so that they can come onto the platform and they go into their class and all of the content is there. We can communicate directly with them. They can see the other students in their groups, etc. So often these platforms, what you do is you log in and then you create all the classes, and for each class you get a code. You share the code with your students and they log into your class. So you can have all your students all in their classes. So it's really a function of organizing them. And then of course you can share content. That can either be shared content that you've produced or content from the publishing companies, from YouTube, from any kind of files that you want to share, any reading activities, any worksheets, etc. So it's the place where you can put all the content. You often have folders. You can share the content in the folders, but you can also share the content on the timeline, rather like you do when you're using Facebook. And then you can create activities. So you can have quizzes and discussions and polls, etc. So you've got a series of activities that you build around the content. So you share content with them, but you're not just going to ask them to watch the video, but watch a video and answer a quiz or have a discussion or do a poll, etc. So there are basically three main functions that a platform offers, and that's one of the key reasons why we need a platform, is because it will organize the course, give us the chance to give the content to the students and create activities for them to do as well. One thing to understand about these platforms is that they're often administered in different ways. So systems like Moodle and Blackboard are normally administered by a school. So the school brings in Moodle or Blackboard onto their server, and then the school administers it and sets up all the classes. So the teacher doesn't really do anything. The teacher comes in, logs on to Moodle or Blackboard, and the classes are organized for them. When we work with systems like Edmodo or Schoology, it's the teacher that does it. So the teacher creates an account, creates all the classes, and then for each class there will be a code. They give the code to the students and the students can then log into the code, and then immediately the teacher has a way of communicating with the students and sharing content with them and creating activities, etc. So they're administered in a very different way, and that's another reason why Edmodo is a really nice tool to work with, because it's the teacher that organizes and administers it and sets up all the classes and gets the students logged in. But it's a very simple system, and it also means, the nice thing about Edmodo is that it's a free tool that the teacher can use regardless of their context. So they don't have to rely on the school having set up Moodle or Blackboard. They can simply create an account in Edmodo and begin. Okay, so I'm just going to take you on a quick tour of Edmodo so you can see a little bit how it works. I've logged into my account. I'm on the home page, so I'm clicked on the home page, and you can see here I've got my classes here and my groups here. There's not really any difference. We normally use classes when we're working with students and groups when we're doing teacher training, but the functionality is almost the same. Let me just show you one of my groups. Here is the main wall, so it's a little bit like working with Facebook. If I write anything here and then share it, the students will see it immediately. So for example, if I wrote in watch this video and point out at least 5 mistakes. So that's my instructions. I need to share the video, so I'm going to come to this video here. I'm going to use this video from YouTube. I'm going to click on the share button. I'm going to copy the link, come back again, and simply come down here and paste that link in. And now I'm going to post this on my wall. Immediately that goes to all the students. This is what they're going to see, and they will be able to reply to the question or to the instructions by simply clicking on comment and writing their comment here and then commenting. So immediately we can create a way of having a discussion, sharing ideas on what we call here the timeline or the wall of the system. So that's a really nice feature. You're not limited to just sharing video. You could also, if you write something here, you could also share any content from your computer, any content from the internet, and you can actually share multiple files. So if I was to come down to here and look at some of the articles I've written for Express Publishing, I can click and copy, for example, 3 files and share 3 files all at the same time. And if I clicked on that button there, then all of the students would receive those files. Students can also post onto the screen as well as comment, and this is really the main wall for communication. If we come over here to the left, another nice feature is that we can create folders. As you can see on this course here, I've got all these folders for each day of the course, and that really helps us to organize the content. If we click on one of those folders, then we'll find the different content inside the folder, and we can share links, we can share content from our computer, etc. A very important part of working with Edmodo is the fact that, as well as being able to share content very quickly, you do have a number of interactive features. So if we would come over here on the right hand side, we can create assignments, we can create quizzes. If we just quickly look at the quiz button, you'll see that quizzes are actually very well organized. You give the title to the quiz, you click on quiz questions, and you have a whole selection of different quiz types, and you can add new questions here. And then the interesting thing is that the quizzes can be automatically marked by Edmodo. So you can set a quiz, the students can do the quiz, and because you put in the answers to the quiz, then the students can get immediate feedback on their responses and whether they got the questions wrong or right. When students do assignments and quizzes, all that information is kept in a database. If we scroll up here and come up to classes and we click on progress, we can actually see what scores the students are currently getting on any of the quizzes or assignments that I've posted. And that can be a really useful feature when working with Edmodo, because it helps you to track the students and track their activity, and that's automatic. So that's all the assignments and all the quizzes, all that information is stored in a database that you can check on at any time. It's very easy for students to join your classes in Edmodo. When you click on this button here, you can create a new class, and when you create a new class and you click on create here, you just need to complete this information, then immediately a code is produced. Look at this one here, we've got Express Publishing practice class. I just made this about a while back, and you'll see the code for that class, and you share this code with the students and they are able to log in, and immediately then you have a way of communicating, sharing posts, creating folders, making quizzes, making assignments. You can also, for example, add polls onto the screen as well. You can even divide your students into subgroups if you want to do group work type activities on Edmodo. So it's a very flexible tool. It has a number of interesting features. It's very easy to use. It's very intuitive. It's easy to organize the students, and as a tool to work with, it probably takes about half a day of studying to really get most of the main features clear. It's not a particularly difficult technology to learn. Okay, so we've talked about the virtual learning environment. We can see that Edmodo is a possibility. There are a number of other products around. In fact, there's many of these products. Edmodo simply is one of the most popular ones. It's a great way of organizing the students, getting them in one place. You can communicate with them, you can even message them, etc. But what are you going to do about the live lesson? How are you actually going to do a live session? And really now what we're going to do is shift over and look at that. And there are a number of technologies that we can use, but there's perhaps one technology that sticks out at the moment that most people seem to be adopting in teaching as the technology to use for the live classes. So the technology that most people seem to be using is Zoom, and Zoom gives us lots of options in terms of the types of things that we can do. But the key thing about working with Zoom is the fact that you can share your screen. And that means that anything that's on your computer, be it PowerPoint, be it a PDF of your course book, be it the interactive whiteboard software, for example, that Express Publishing do, be it any videos, anything that you want to share that's on your computer screen, you can bring to life and show to the students. And this could be really, really powerful. And Zoom has a number of interesting settings. For example, it's possible to allow students to share content. It's possible, for example, to allow the student to unnote things on the screen. Of course, the students, the teacher can communicate both visually and orally. They can be seen on the screen and they can be heard, but also the students can engage in conversation discussions. They too can talk and they too can turn on their webcams. So there can be a fairly high degree of communication. Now, I'm never going to exaggerate. This cannot replace the classroom in this context, certainly not. It's a second best choice really in this context. However, it really is at the moment what we can do under the current circumstances. So let's take a little look at Zoom and we'll highlight some of the key features when working with the tool. So I'm going to log into my account. Zoom comes at various prices, but you can actually test it for free with just a small group of students. So it's worth getting an account. To create an actual lesson, all you need to do really is to go down to meetings and click on schedule a meeting. And then you just give that meeting a name. So we're going to call this one Express Publishing Meeting 2. I don't need to put any information in here. I need to choose the time of the meeting. This isn't going to affect when the meeting starts. You can open a meeting whenever you want, but it does help in terms of the invitation that you can produce. So I'm going to imagine, for example, that my meeting is going to take place on Thursday, 8 AM, and it's going to last for 2 hours. Now I can come down here and there's a few settings that can be useful. I'm going to allow my video to be on when I turn on Zoom, but not for my students. I'm not going to have the video on for them, the webcam on for them, but I am going to here. I'm going to allow them to use their audio, so I'm not going to mute participants on entry. So I'll leave the rest of the settings. I'm going to turn that off. I'm not going to automatically record the presentation, and I'm just going to click on the save button now. And the nice thing is that it creates an invitation that I can now send to the students, and they can log in and access my presentation. And I can start my presentation immediately. I just simply need to click on this button here. So I'm going to click on this button here, and you'll see now, just take a couple of minutes. Just have to open up Zoom. And remember that I've set it that the video camera will automatically come on. There I am on the screen. Now you can see how big the video camera is. So I'm going to turn the video camera off. Just going to come down here and turn the video camera off. A couple of things that you want to always do straight away is, I'm just going to exit full screen a minute and just bring that back. I'm going to click on the chat window to open up the chat. I'm going to bring up list of participants. So now we've got the list of participants. All the students would be here. Remember, you sent them that invitation. They will come into the room. You won't be able to see them because you've not turned on their webcam. If you did, they would all start appearing here at the top of the screen, but you will be able to hear them. You can mute all the students if they're making a lot of noise, so you can just click on this button here. But the main thing that you can do now is screen share. The way that Zoom works is that really you'll be sharing content. Anything that you've got open on the screen of your computer, you will be able to share it from here. And I'm going to take you through a couple of examples. One of the things that's very useful is that it has an interactive whiteboard, so you can click on that, and obviously you can come up and turn on a note, and then of course you can write on the screen. Your students should also be able to do this as well. If in the settings you've allowed the students to annote, they also will be able to come up. You can ask one of the students to annote on the screen, and they can also do that as well. You have the option, of course, of writing. Now, an interactive whiteboard can be useful for note taking, for simple drawing activities, etc. But the real power of working with Zoom comes with screen sharing other content. It could be the book, it could be a PowerPoint slide, it could be a video that you want to play, and I'm just going to take you through a couple of examples. So I'm going to minimize Zoom by just clicking here, and here we've got the interactive whiteboard software for the book I Wonder 1. And this is great because this software will function perfectly through Zoom. I'm going to give you an example. So I'm going to come back again, maximize Zoom, come onto the screen share. When we click on the screen share, we can see all the different screens that are open on my computer, and one of them is I Wonder. I can click here, I can open I Wonder onto the screen, and then I can begin to go through the pages or the units. I'm going to jump into module 3. I might, for example, just come over to this lesson here, bring this onto the screen, and basically any of the tools that are here at the bottom I can access and make use of. And also any of the audio that I play from the I Wonder system will work. Now, just one little tip, if I just stop sharing just to come back and point something out. To make sure that the students can hear your audio, click on this button here, share computer sound. That will guarantee that when you open up I Wonder, if you play any of the sounds and you use any of the tools here at the bottom, then the students will be able to engage with you. Remember, you have to click on the tool that you want to use, then click on the thickness of the pen. Now you can mark things on the screen as well. Don't forget, your students can also do this as well, so they can also interact with your screen. Remember, if you want to move around on the I Wonder software, a couple of little tips here at the bottom. Click on this button to clean the screen. Click on the mouse when you want to navigate between pages, which you can do very easily as well by just clicking here. And don't forget, you have lots of different options of things that you can do at the bottom. Obviously, very useful is the ability to click on the screen and write, which you can do as well. And it is possible just to write anything on the screen that you want to. And you can always pull it out and open it up and make it larger if you want to do that. Just going to take that off. Of course, you've got all the pens that you want to make use of, and these can be really useful if you want the students to circle things as well as so that's really useful as well. Remember, again, to clean the screen, click on this button here. So if we just come back to the screen share again, another thing to keep in mind, remember that this button is very important. If we click here, it does also mean that all the drag and drop features will work. So you can pass control to a student, and the student could do the listening, or they could do the listening as a group.
Here's a photo of me and my friends in the park.
And then obviously afterwards the students can come and drag the names in next to the characters on the screen. So all the different interactive features that you'll find in this interactive whiteboard software, all the audios and the videos and activities, everything can still be controlled using Zoom. And as I've said, you can pass control over to the students as well. As I pointed out, you can also play video. So if we screen share and, for example, opened up a video on the screen, again, make sure that you've chosen this button here. Click on share, and if we play this video, the same thing, the students will also see it. And actually, interestingly enough, you can even note on top of a video, because actually the way the note works is that it draws a line, or it draws on a kind of surface above the screen. Okay, so you've seen a little bit what Zoom can do. Obviously, again, it was just a taster. You can see that you can play video, you can show stuff from the book, from the interactive whiteboard. The students can also interact with it. Remember also that the students can screen share if you set it. It is possible to allow the students to screen share. Obviously now you need to go off and learn these two technologies. You can see that Zoom is actually pretty easy. Just create an account, put in the basic details, get the invitation, send that to the students, and then you open up the room and get the students to log in. Plenty more to learn, but that's basically the way that Zoom works. I run a website called teachertrainingvideos.com. It provides lots of free videos to help teachers to incorporate technology into their teaching and learning. It's got a special section on Zoom and a special section on Edmodo, and Express Publishing have been sponsoring this website for many years. If you want the handout for today's presentation, so what we've done is we've produced a special handout that will help you to learn to use Edmodo and to learn to use Zoom. All you need to do is send an email to teachertrainingvideos@gmail.com. Automatically you will receive a handout. All you need to do is to write Express Publishing or Express in the subject, and then just to write I am blah 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 from blah blah blah, and that will be sent to you immediately. Just to show you how the handout looks, it's going to be like that. It's going to give you help with Edmodo and help with Zoom. Don't forget also as well that I write the Express Publishing blog on Teachers Corner. And I just want to finish the presentation by saying a big thank you to Express Publishing for sponsoring this presentation, and I really hope that that's helped you to understand a little bit about the technologies that you would need to deliver your courses online. These are very difficult times, but if you were to work with just Edmodo or a similar tool and Zoom or a similar tool, then you will be able to at least deliver some kind of online class. It will never be as good as being in a face-to-face class. I think particularly for young learners, being in class, being with the teacher, working in groups, working in pairs, leaving the chair and moving around the class, and all those sorts of activities are way more engaging than sitting in front of a computer. But under the circumstances that we're in at the moment, there really is no choice. Thank you very much. My name's Russell Stannard. I run a website called teachertrainingvideos.com. It helps.
Құрметті әріптестер, сіздерге айтылып өтетін ақпарат, вебинар өткеннен кейін, семинар өткеннен кейін сіздердің пошталарыңызға, барлықтарыңызға сертификат жіберіледі. Халықаралық сертификат. Біріншіден, бұл жерге пошталарыңызды жазбауыңызға да болады, өйткені сіздердің пошталарыңыз тіркелу кезінде жаздыңыздар, сол пошталарыңызға жіберіледі. Ол біріншіден. Екіншіден, айтып өтетін ақпарат, бүгінгі қатысып отырған барлық қатысушыларға біз поурочныйларыңызды, жоспарларды, КТП, барлық жоспар түрін 1-ші сыныптан бастап 11-ші сыныпқа дейін пошталарыңызға жібереміз. Сондықтан сіздер бұл жерге КТП бар ма екен, немесе басқа жоспарлар бар ма екен деп сұрамауыңызға болады, өйткені барлығын сіздердің пошталарыңызға жібереміз. Егер басқа да сұрақтарыңыз болса, пошталарыңызға келмеген болса, онда соңында ақпарат болады, біздің телефон нөмірлерімізге хабарласып сұрауларыңызға болады. Рахмет. Енді келесі сөз кезегін біздің арақашықтықта оқыту жағдайында Express Publishing баспасының әдістемелік кешендерінің үлкен мүмкіндіктері атты ақпаратпен Эдустрим білім беру орталығының әдіскері Башко Елена Владимировна сөйлейді. Қош келдіңіз, Елена Владимировна, сізді тыңдаймыз. Слышно нас, Елена Владимировна?
Natalia Arkaina, will you help me?
Yes, of course, as usual.
Thank you for
Just
finding
a
time
minute.
and being with us today in order to discuss the expanded possibilities of distance learning on the example of Express Publishing. Please, and don't hesitate to ask me any questions at the end of the presentation, or you may write in our chat. And I hope you will enjoy it. So let us get started. Please, next slide. By discussing such a topic, I would like to start with the book series CLIL, which is also known as one of the most innovative tools of Express Publishing. Why? First of all, such a unique approach as CLIL includes both specific scientific vocabulary and everyday English. It allows students to be prepared for both university life and international language tests such as IELTS or TOEFL. As for the second point, each book includes language activities which help pupils to develop their skills in critical thinking and creativity. In addition, such activities play an important role in memorization of new vocabulary. And different levels of reading are extremely important in terms of self-education. Each level is connected with different age group, starting from the age of 7 and older. It means that each group has its own language base, grammar structures, listening levels, and writing exercises. Owing the fact that books are focused on vocabulary, the books are compiled in an innovative manner. The most interesting feature is that each text indirectly influences the ability of understanding grammar structures. Please, next slide. The second important aspect is digital platform. This instrument is the most significant idea of our company. You may ask me why? Please, I will prove you. First of all, digital platform is available in different devices. I mean, tablets, iPhone, smartphones, laptop, and the representatives of Generation Z, our young children, are characterized as high-speed consumers of information. And the variety of choices allows them to be more demanding in terms of convenience. These people are more dependent on the comfort. Comfort in usage, I mean, of mobile devices as well. For example, digital applications could be used by students in the evenings. It means that they can spend their leisure time by learning English, yes, thanks to gamification and application developers. Digital platform is based on one of the most significant features of the 21st century. It is gamification. It means that the platform is interesting for students since they learn via the game process. During distance learning, this feature becomes crucial since students who are younger than 14 cannot understand the mechanism of online education. Those students who are not in high school, I mean, in most cases, if speak frankly, yes, have difficulties with self-education due to their unexperienced school life. However, gamification of education makes the process of learning more dynamic and more successful. As for the third point, it is parental involvement. From my point of view, this feature allows parents to be more involved in study process of their children. The platform is created in a way which is more comfortable for both parents and students. Because of detailed reports, parents can see strong and weak sides of their kids, and the responsibility of parents will motivate kids to study harder. Last but not the least, I want to underline the role of traditional study materials, such as books. Next slide. The first point is we have material for self-check. I mean, progress check, progress report cards, audio stripes, and others. All of these resources create one complex approach towards self-education. Owing the fact that distance learning is quite a new experience for all of us, not only for our students, but for teachers, of course, too, it is difficult to deny that self-education is a key. That is why it is crucial to help students to self-check their skills in order to define strong and weak sides of their learning process. The second point is books include variety of activities, and several of them are connected with Google search. The skills of surfing the internet are needed for successful career, of course. And in addition, these projects develop presentational, managemental, and organizational skills. Thus, in turn, influences on elaboration of their leadership. And the last point here is skills development. The variety of activities that are connected between each other via spiral curricula are adapted towards the conditions of the 21st century. Different tasks allows our students to perform themselves from different perspectives. And what is more important, this task could be fully implemented in both online or offline education. Next slide. These three key objects in the methodology of Express Publishing has some similarities. First of all, it includes learning skills of different kids, those who are more productive via offline and those who are more productive via online. Secondly, these options allow both types of students to define key objects in each method of studying. Thus, in turn, will help them in university life to determine the most beneficial way of studying for them. And thirdly, all of the resources follow the main idea of Express Publishing education, spiral curricula. Every type of information by Express Publishing has three main features of learning process. We told about it, yes, symbolic, iconic, and inactive. This is proved by different activities which are presented in the resources. And next slide. I'm going to finish my presentation with such saying: have a goal that makes you jump out of bed each morning. It's time to open your eyes and reach your goals. And if you look at the door, or maybe to call it gate, you will see it's like the gate to new knowledge of our students during distance education. And if you make your students be more positive, more successful, more perspective, of course, we will have good results. And in conclusion, I would like to thank all of you for joining the conference. This time is challenge to all of us, and today we prove that Kazakhstani teachers are ready to face this issue. Moreover, the presentation has proved that Express Publishing is well prepared to the new format of education, and the complex approach, which is the key feature of Express Publishing's attitude, is innovative, modern, and follows the criteria of education in the 21st century. Thank you. I have finished.
Спасибо огромное за вашу презентацию. Уважаемые коллеги, повторяю еще раз информацию о том, что запись вебинара у нас идет. Всю информацию по вебинару, даже если вы прослушали, Рассел, к сожалению, не захотел идти, ему, видимо, понравились казахстанские учителя, что не захотел с вами расставаться. Поэтому видеоматериал вы все получите. Всю необходимую информацию мы вам, как всегда, вышлем вместе со сертификатом. За это не переживайте. Так, Скажите, пожалуйста, Расала до сих пор всем слышно? Чтобы опять у нас дисконнектора не было. Расала слышно всем или Расал ушел? Так, Расала слышно или не слышно? Так, можно секундочку. Я еще раз проверю, чтобы у нас не было больше такой накладки совместимости. Все, я надеюсь, что Расала не слышно, потому что написано, что он покинул наш вебинар-канал. И продолжаем, уважаемые коллеги. Так, а у нас Расал, по-моему, еще на месте. И, уважаемые учителя, как учителю создать урок так, который отвечал бы всем требованиям современного образования, и чтобы подготовка к уроку для учителя была более эффективной и качественной. Поэтому сейчас выступит наш методист, представитель города Октября, Марина Владимировна, с темой использования УМК Aspect Action издательства Express Publishing в условиях дистанционного обучения. Марина Владимировна, can you hear me?
Yes, first of all,
Вы меня слышите?
My question is, can you hear me?
Да, Расул не хочет с вами прощаться. Марина Владимировна?
I'm trying to do my best. Can you hear me now?
Yes, it's great.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So first of
Do you
all,
need my help? Do you need my help in this presentation?
I can use my own one if it is possible. Yeah. The only thing is,
Yeah.
I don't need my face just on the screen. I need only my presentation, so that's why you can switch it off somehow.
Okay, right.
You promised.
Okay, hide it.
You promised, okay?
Okay, hide your face.
Yes.
That's okay? Okay.
Okay. So my face is still on the screen. Still, congratulations on the new upcoming academic year. And I'm sure we will definitely overcome all the problems which we face nowadays. We will try to do our best. And what is more, just all the tips which are given today, well, by all my colleagues, not only from Kazakhstan, but from Express Publishing House, they try to support us as much as possible, will be used by us, by the teachers, and we will try to overcome these problems without any kind of troubles for us, okay? So before going into the details, I should emphasize one main point. You know, our students in the 10th grade try to choose one of the two suggested schools. I'm speaking about grammar one and science one. So for this, Express Publishing House has created two textbooks. They are Aspect for grammar school and Action for science school. So teachers still have got some problems. What is the main difference between these two complexes, and how it is better to work with them, just avoiding any kind of problems, and of course making the process interesting for the students. Well, my mission today is to explain these distinctive features, and what is more, I will try to draw your attention on the components of these complexes, because taking into consideration the way we are going to work on now, I mean our distance education. Hello, Russell. Yeah, this is mine, okay? So I think that all the tips which will be given just today and in my presentation as well will be useful for you, okay? So let's go. Next slide, please. So you know that Aspect for Kazakhstan and Action for Kazakhstan, they are challenging courses for today's learners of English at CERS level B2. The courses provide a variety of stimulating topics and rich texts presented in themed modules which follow the order of the English language curriculum in Kazakhstan. They are accompanied by a wide range of fully interactive and digital components and rich video material, which broadens learners' understanding and deepens their engagement with the topic. Next slide, please. Speak about structural components for the students. As you can see on the screen, we are speaking about students' book, workbook and grammar book, e-book software, DVD activity book, and DVD video PAL. Okay, next slide, please. Now, please, structural components for the teacher. As you can see, both complexes suggest us teacher's book, workbook and class CD. Here you have got DVD activity book and DVD activity book key. Class CDs, then we have got teacher's resource pack and test CD-ROM plus IE-book. Here I want to stop a bit because, you know, we are provided by teacher's book, one of the components which is very important for us, for teachers. And if you start looking through the pages, the first pages, they are called, here it is, by the way, Introduction to the Teacher. So I like this page because these pages, because they suggest a lot of interesting and important information for us, how to use these complexes, including components. And now I want to read some just important information from this page for you. So look, student's book. The student's book is the main component of the course. Each module is based on a single theme and the topics covered are of general interest. So if you just find the information about what teacher's book for us teachers is and the test CD-ROM, here we have got that it is written like this. The teacher's book contains teacher's notes which provide step-by-step lesson plans and suggestions about how to present the material. So this book also includes a complete key to exercises in the student's book and workbook and audio scripts of the listening material. So if you find the information about IW book, I mean software, our golden disk, I can't just find any other names for it. So the IW consists of all the materials in the student's book, teacher's book and audio CDs, and aims to facilitate lessons in the classroom. It also contains presentations of all the use of English structures in the student's book, as well as video extracts for students to further practice their English and expand their knowledge. One more disk, which is like a brother of this just IW software disk, it is ebook, which is given for our students, and they can use it separately at home, taking into consideration their own pace, their own just time, their own way of working on this learning process. So ebook, what is it? The ebook contains all the material in the student's book, and it is the student's interactive study partner. So don't forget about it. So because we're going to spend the future lessons in the way of distance education, so the material which is given, the components which are given for us will be very useful, and try to use them without any problems. Okay, they will help you a lot. Now, next disk, please. Next slide, please. Sorry. So speaking about the content of Aspect for Kazakhstan, here you will see that the material is divided into 9 main modules, and at the end of each module you will find progress check. So the first pages in Aspect for Kazakhstan they are devoted to introductory lesson. Then we have got module 1, making contact. Module 2 is the animal world. Module 3 is interviews and instructions. Module 4 is timekeeping devices. Module 5 is work and inventions. Module 6 is social change and further study. Module 7 is reading for pleasure. Module 8 is making statements and providing information. And Module 9 is clothes journeys. Thank you. Next slide, please. And as for the content of action for Kazakhstan, again, you can see that we have got 9 modules. The first, before we start just learning the information from this book, we start with starter pages, then 9 modules, which are making connections in biology, the animal world, the human brain, timekeeping devices, work and inventions. 6 is for STEM, module 7 is reading for pleasure, module 8 is recent advances in technology, and module 9 is the chemistry of clothes. So please, next one. Next slide, please. Now, if you look very carefully and if we compare the content of these 2 textbooks, you will see that we have got some modules which are the same. And be very careful because they differ greatly in many others. So it is all because of the fact that both of these textbooks are just supposed to be used in different schools. Aspect is for grammar school and action is for science school. And here you will find that few topics are in common. They are common ones. I'm speaking about the animal world, timekeeping devices, work and inventions, reading for pleasure. Yes, the titles, the names are the same, but be very careful because the content will be quite different. Next slide, please. Okay, so now let's speak about module number 2, the topic of which is the same for both complexes, both textbooks. Okay, it is the animal world. Next slide. So if you look very briefly at the content of this module, you will see that in aspect we have got the animal world, vocabulary, use of English, skills, writing, clear and progress check. So as far as you can see, in action we have got golden eagles, bats, dolphins, writing, culture corner, curricula and progress check. So you see that the pages, the parts of the modules are quite different. And let's have a look at the first lesson of module number 2 in grammar school. Next slide. You see that we start the first pages, first of all, with module objectives. Here in details, the students and the teacher try to understand what they are going to work on during the whole module. This is vocabulary, reading, use of English, listening, speaking, writing, and also we have got the information about progress check. Clear is given as well. So, and the conclusion is that everything is focused on all 4 basic skills: listening, reading, speaking, and writing. And if you look very carefully, next slide. And if you look very carefully at module number 2, here you can't see any kind of objectives. They are not given at all. So the question is why? Of course, it is reasonable because as for actions, the goals are quite different here. And all the students and the teacher, they have got different aims. So in organizing and in the process of learning. So the students learn here vocabulary. They develop their skills through working with the text. And on the first page of the module, you will see that we start with the vocabulary. Then we have got listening and the text itself. Then we have got the task on comprehension, grammar exercises. By the way, grammar is based on the text given here. We do exercises on grammar as well. Then we have got writing. And of course, we develop different skills like writing, listening, because it is very important. You know, our students, after graduating the school, try to pass their exams into different universities. And here we start helping them to prepare. By the way, writing is one of those important parts in the exams. And our main aim is to learn them how to write successfully. Next slide, please. The second part of module number 2 is devoted to vocabulary. These 2 pages are full of just target vocabulary for the whole module. You have got a lot of exercises which help us to extend students' vocabulary, and these exercises are really interesting. And if you look at very carefully at next slide, at pages which are suggested in action, here 2B is devoted to text again. We start with the vocabulary, then we have got listening, reading, grammar, which is based on the text, exercises on grammar, and again we finish with speaking and writing. So next slide. To see in Aspect is about use of English. So the theoretical part of the tables are devoted to reported speech. Then you have got, our students have got the chance to practice, and these pages are for use of English. What about action? Please, next slide. In action, we have got the text again. So we have got vocabulary, reading, text, grammar, listening, speaking, and we again finish with writing here. So as far as you can see, the pages differ from what we have got in Aspect. The next slide. Part 2D in Aspect is for skills. It is about developing skills, by the way. On those 2 pages, we see work on reading skills, listening skills, and speaking skills. So 3 basic skills are developed during the lesson. So what about action? Next part, please. Next slide. In action, we have got, so the main skill which is given here, it is writing. And here you see that the whole lesson is devoted to it. We work on an opinion essay here. We start with rubric analysis, model analysis. What I like very much, everything is given in detail. So grammar, the way how to express opinion. We have got exercises which help students practice what they're going to write, useful language. And the production here is a plan, a writing which our students will do using the plan given. So please, next slide. Aspect also gives the whole lesson, suggests the whole lesson on writing here. Well, we work on opinion essay as well, just the same way to work on writing here. The production is to use an opinion essay using the plan given. Next slide. Well, in action, you see that the page here is devoted to Culture Corner. I'm not going to stop here because everything is clear, and I think you will try to look through it more carefully later. Curricula, it is biology. What about Aspect? Next slide. In Aspect, we have got CLIL, which is for science. Then we have got culture sport, national animals of the USA. Next slide. What about action? Here you see that language in use is taken into consideration. Our students work on phrasal verbs, prepositions. They work on collocations, word formations. They try to study words which are often confused. And they have got exercise to practice about Kazakhstan. So here they try to use the information taken before. Okay, next slide. Now I want to draw your attention on the end of the module. In each textbook, you see that we finish with progress check. But the question is progress check the same here in Aspect and in action? Let's try to see. What about progress check, which is suggested in action? We start with reading. We see the text. We see the task on comprehension. Then we have got speaking task. Well, listening is checked, grammar, vocabulary, and we finish with writing. What about action? Let's go. Next slide. In action, we start with text as well with comprehension task. We have got listening. Progress check, we don't have separate exercises on just grammar or vocabulary to be checked. No, it is called progress check. But grammar and vocabulary is checked here. We have got writing to finish the progress check with. We don't have any kind of speaking here. Well, because speaking is not necessary, our students will try to express the way of speaking in their writing. So this is very important. So as far as you can see, progress checks are not the same. They have got some different features. So what about basic differences in both textbooks, Aspect and Action? So they are the following. We have got different layout and we have got different content. And one more thing I want to point out your attention about Action itself, because you see that Excel, then our students start working with Aspects. So just the way of presenting complexes is different. It's not different as it is in Action. So that is why I want you to point out the main features here. Action. Each lesson in Action is science. Be careful, okay? So the next one, science doesn't have aspect structure and doesn't have Excel structure. So every lesson in Action is a text. No separate grammar lessons here. We don't have. Please don't even try to find them. Integration. So it is obvious. And we have got writing, which is always after the text. In Action, everything is text-based. So I hope the information which I have to present here, I have presented here, is very useful for you. I wish you to be very successful in the process of distant education. And thank you, Russell, because his support was obvious during my whole presentation. Thank you very much.
За презентацию. Там, пока у вас была презентация, там были вопросы. Вы пока можно будет с ними ознакомиться, чтобы по завершению вебинара дать ответы нашим учителям. Так, и продолжаем наш вебинар. Let me show the presentation. Just a minute, please. Okay. Audio Russell. И следующая презентация. Пенер Наталья Александровна, методист нашего образовательного центра индустрии представителя города Актобе, с темой Major Tricks in Creating an Educational Video. Наталья Александровна, can you hear me well?
Yes, I am trying to connect.
Okay.
Okay. No. Okay. So hello, everyone. I am so happy to meet you again. And we met almost 2 months ago. And the topic of my presentation was almost the same, but today I am planning to speak about some technical challenges that we have while creating educational video. So before me, there were lots of speakers who spoke a lot about content, about educational platforms, about all other things, but everything is okay. But to make to use all this more beneficially, more useful, you need to know how to turn the reality into video. So that's why I'm planning to speak Russian, because we'll speak about some technical challenges. And to save your time and to have no misunderstanding. Итак, добрый день, дорогие участники семинара. Рада вас видеть. И хотя до меня очень много говорили о содержании учебно-методических пособий, о образовательных платформах, все-таки одна из самых главных проблем, с которой столкнулись все учителя, это создание учебных видео. Вроде бы это все и просто. На одном из предыдущих вебинаров, если я не ошибаюсь, в июне или в июле месяце, я говорила о том, что для этого мы используем несколько программ. Можно использовать несколько программ, и большая часть из них бесплатная. Тем не менее, это все-таки предоставляет еще достаточно большую трудность. When we started teaching our students in a distance format in April, so many of the teachers, when we got the task to create educational videos for the 9th grade, many teachers of the school were aware. They were in panic, they were shocked, and they told me that they couldn't do it because they didn't know how to do it. You never know until you try. It was a big experience. It was a big challenge for everyone, and we'll try. And after millions of attempts, so we got nice results. Oh my God. Again, Russell. Наталья Аркадьевна, не идет переключение слайдов.
Yes, I help you, okay?
Okay. Usually it works. Again. Yes. Если говорить о создании учебных видео, первая проблема, с которой мы столкнулись, многие учителя говорили о том, что они просто не имеют представления, как это делать. Жизнь полна чудес, и самое главное волшебство заключается в том, что мы можем и должны творить их сами. Вот то, что мы создаем с вами, это действительно волшебство, без которого не могут обойтись наши дети. Как бы там ни было, как бы ни замечательно мы использовали платформу Zoom, как бы мы не использовали платформу Bilimland, все это хорошо, но тем не менее во время объяснения материала, так или иначе, это наш менталитет, так или иначе детям необходимо наше присутствие, хотя бы виртуальное. Поэтому то, что мы делаем, создавая учебные видео, это действительно волшебство. Следующий слайд можно? Для того, чтобы создать эффективное образовательное видео или учебное видео для дистанционного урока, необходимо выполнить 7 простых базовых правил, basic rules. The next. Ну, прежде всего, это внешний вид учителя. Об этом сейчас говорят очень много, потому что, как бы там ни было, мы представляем собой модель. Модель во всем, начиная с внешнего вида. Поэтому, конечно, на учебном видео мы должны выглядеть официально, это должен быть деловой стиль, без каких-либо излишеств. Okay, the next. The next rule, you see, not this way. Я думаю, что многие из вас столкнулись с тем, что во время 4-й части столкнулись с тем, что мы, проводя уроки в Zoom, мы видели разнообразные сцены из жизни наших детей. Это и родители, разгуливающих за их спиной, это и младших братьев и сестер, которые корчили рожицы. Поэтому это, конечно, очень важно. Внешний вид учителя очень важен, поскольку мы для наших детей всегда были и есть и будем моделью. Окей, the next. Конечно же, нужно думать о том, как организовать свое рабочее пространство. Мы, как правило, мы начинаем снимать видеоурок, и всегда нужно думать, что находится позади вас. Если то, что находится позади вас, не совсем эстетично выглядит, то во многих программах есть оформление заднего фона. Это тоже нужно учесть. Далее, пожалуйста. Вот сегодня очень много было вопросов, было много замечаний по поводу звука. Это действительно очень важно, чтобы не было никаких помех. Когда вы начинаете записывать видео, постараться нужно сделать так, чтобы посторонних шумов, посторонних звуков не было. Кроме того, уровень звука должен быть предельно допустимым. То есть это не должно быть сильно тихо и не должно быть сильно громко. Ну и, конечно, темп вашего голоса тоже должен соответствовать цели вашего учебного видео. Окей, the next. Кроме этого, крайне необходимо, конечно, потренироваться, прежде чем записывать учебное видео, потренироваться, чтобы работа шла на камеру. Поскольку это виртуальный контакт, нам нужно сделать его максимально приближенным к тому контакту, который обычно есть у нас face-to-face classes. Наш менталитет, our mentality, это когда при объяснении, когда при ответе мы смотрим друг другу в глаза. От этого мы никуда не можем деться, поэтому это нужно обязательно учесть. The next slide, please. Обязательное условие – это простые четкие инструкции. Посмотрите, это простые примитивные примеры, но кошка, инструкция по эксплуатации в схемах и таблицах, шуточная такая инструкция. Далее, инструкция, как пользоваться палочками, instruction good luck, и распаковать по инструкции, инструкция под крышкой. Окей, the next slide, please. И давайте посмотрим, что обычно происходит у нас на уроке, как мы обычно даем инструкции. Two types of instructions. Open your books on page 34 and find exercise 1, which is just at the bottom of the page. In this exercise, you need to read the sentence and decide which tense form you must use. After you decide, you need to write the sentences in your copybox. Then you will read your variants to the group and we'll see if they are right. This is the first version. The next, open your books on page 34. Pause. Find exercise 1. Read the sentences and decide which tense form you must use. Write sentences in your copybooks. Then we'll check your variants in a group. Which variant will you choose? If you're a student, of course, the second one. Все инструкции, которые мы даем, должны быть предельно короткими и предельно понятными. Только в этом случае мы можем ожидать, что наши учащиеся выполнят предполагаемое задание эффективно. Окей? The next. Кроме того, мы, конечно же, не можем отойти от теории. Теория – это таксономия Блума, и смена видов деятельности должна присутствовать в наших видеоуроках. От менее сложного к более сложному. Слушаю, говорю, повторяю, читаю, пишу, думаю, анализирую. Next. Продолжительность этапов видеоурока упражнений имеет большое значение. Прежде всего нужно помнить, во-первых, о санитарных нормах каждой категории, каждого возраста учащихся, сколько они могут проводить возле монитора. И кроме того, о том, что, как правило, более 7 минут объяснений не воспринимается человеком. Поэтому, если вы понимаете, что у вас объяснение материала достаточно объемное, лучше разбить на более короткие части. Окей, the next, please. Ну и, конечно, я не могу не привести слова Гарриета Тэбмана. Каждая великая мечта начинается с мечты. То есть всегда помните, что у вас есть сила, терпение и страсть, чтобы дотянуться до звезд и изменить мир. Мы, учителя, мы и есть та категория людей, которые меняют мир. Так вот, у каждого у нас есть звезда, и мы достаем эти звезды постоянно, мы постоянно дотягиваемся до них. Самое главное, нужно верить, что есть, в каждом из нас есть сила, терпение и страсть. Окей, the next, please. И непосредственно, буквально несколько минут вашего внимания, такие короткие рекомендации по тому, как работать в видеоредакторе Movavi. Я уже как-то говорила об этом видеоредакторе. Почему-то, ну вот у меня душа к нему больше легла, как-то легко и сразу смогла работать с ним, поэтому я буду говорить об этом видеоредакторе. The next one. Что можно сделать, используя эту программу? Записать видео с экрана, обработать видео, это немаловажно, конвертировать мультимедиа, обработать фото. Есть несколько вариантов этой программы. Это Movavi Video Editor Plus, Movavi Screen Recorder, Movavi Video Suite. То есть разновидностей много, тем не менее, как бы функциональные вещи, они выполняют одни и те же. The next one. Когда вы запускаете, итак, вам необходимо загрузить программу на свой компьютер, на рабочий стол. Как только вы запускаете программу, на экране вы видите следующее изображение. Это логотип Movavi, и справа вы увидите панель, где указано, я думаю, понятно, это закрытие панели, это возможность создания скриншотов, видеозапись. Следующий, пожалуйста. После того, как вы нажали на значок видеозаписи, появляется вот такое изображение, которое позволяет вам указать площадь захвата экрана. Вы наводите на весь экран и далее, видите крестик, и далее у вас получается весь экран захвачен, и вы видите опять две панельки. Вот эта панель для вас представляет самую большую важность, поскольку здесь у вас запись звука, запись экрана, и когда вам необходимо остановить, вы нажимаете на этот значок. Далее. Как только вы нажали на значок запись, это вот была красная точка, появляется обратный отчет времени. В разных вариантах программ это может быть от 10 секунд до 0, от 5 секунд. Но вы на экране видите обратный отсчет времени, и как только он равняется нулю, запись экрана начинается. Кроме того, здесь есть горячие клавиши. F9 – это пауза, F10 – завершение записи, и F8 – это создание скриншота. Далее. Итак, вы записали ваш фильм. Как вы его будете записывать? Вы можете использовать презентацию, вы можете использовать материалы дисков, которые у вас имеются к учебно-методическим пособиям Express Publishing. Это и Smiles, это и Excel, это и Action, это и Aspect. Заранее вы должны, единственное, вы должны заранее на рабочем столе открыть эти материалы, и затем вы перелистываете материалы, работаете с ними, и вот здесь вот в уголочке будет ваше изображение. После того, как записано у вас видео, у вас возможны два варианта. Открыть в видеоредакторе или экспортировать. Следующий слайд, пожалуйста, чтобы мы могли посмотреть, что делать дальше. Итак, запись успешно сохранена. Мы прописываем имя файла, затем директорию, где будет храниться этот файл, формат, какой нам нужен, качество выбираем, меньше размер, больше, и так далее. Указано разрешение и размер файла. После этого нажимаем на «Сохранить». Далее. В папке «Мови» у вас появляется ваш файл, то есть та запись, которая была сделана. Далее. Что мы можем сделать еще с тем видео, которое у вас уже записалось, вы записали? Мы можем добавить файлы, мы можем добавить звуки, музыку и так далее. Далее, следующий слайд. Мы можем добавить звуки, музыку, мы можем создать видеоклипы. То есть здесь есть функция, я сейчас покажу вам пример, когда можно сделать ваше видео более интересным, более привлекательным для учащихся. Если мы будем штамповать видеоуроки в одном формате, ну, это очень быстро приестся. Поэтому здесь есть различные шаблоны различных видеоклипов, которые вы можете использовать для того, чтобы разнообразить ваш видеоматериал. Следующий слайд, пожалуйста. Мы можем также добавить различный фон. Вы видите здесь на этих слайдах, то есть вы выбираете фон, добавляете, и все ваше видео будет использовать этот фон. Далее. Можно использовать фильтры. Назначение фильтров указано здесь, и вы можете сами все это рассмотреть. Далее. Переходы. Немаловажная часть. Если вы в своем видео соединяете несколько фрагментов, либо соединяете презентацию, видео или еще что-то, то вот переходы нужно размывать, и это все легко делается. Пожалуйста, дальше. Ага. Наталья Аркадьевна, здесь видео должно быть. Если получится. О, нет. Нет, это не то видео. Верните, пожалуйста, презентацию вот там, где она была. Ну, давайте пойдем дальше. Кроме того, мы можем добавить стикеры. Далее. Указаны все инструменты, какие только возможны здесь. Это и возвращение назад, вперед и так далее. Это можно легко разобраться. Я не буду сейчас ваше время тратить. Далее, Наталья Аркадьевна, пожалуйста. Панель, я думаю, что с панелью инструментов вы сможете разобраться. Это возвращение назад, шаг вперед. Это вырезка определенного момента вашего видео, удаление, вернее, это обрезка, возвращение вообще к первоначальному действию, затем обрезка и коррекция цвета. Далее. После того, как вы добавили все, что вы хотели, сделали переходы и все остальное, конечно, нам необходимо сохранить уже отредактированное видео. Далее. Сохранить видео на компьютер. Вы, опять же, даете название своему видео, указываете, где сохранить. Качество. Хотела бы сказать, что хорошего качества вполне достаточно для наших учебных видео. Высокое лучше потребует больших требований к вашему ноутбуку или компьютеру. Указывается длительность, здесь вы видите длительность вашего видео и размер файла. Далее. И формат. Далее. Можно загрузить ваше видео, готовое видео на YouTube, это тоже немаловажно, потому что так или иначе нам нужно делиться друг с другом. Хорошо, далее. И я хотела бы показать вам фрагмент, прям небольшой фрагмент видео, которое было создано мной именно с использованием этой программы. Наталья Аркадьевна, видео, пожалуйста, включите. Today at the lesson we'll start a new module. The topic of the new module is travel and tourism. It is module 8. Let's come to exercise 2. Here we have two options. To read the advert and make sentences as in the example, or first to watch video. Let's start with the video.
Visit Thailand's Ban Chang Elephant Park and learn about the biggest land animal on Earth. You can even take a ride on one, but only if the elephant wants you to.
Your task is to mark the following statements with a T or F, true or false. For this, you need to read the statement. Camels can travel up to 100 kilometers a week, and it's false. Как видите, вот на этом фрагменте было показано то, что использовались эффекты, которые возможно использовать в этой программе. И кроме того, все видео было построено на работе с материалом для интерактивной доски, диск, где учитель вместе с учащимися виртуально прорабатывает все упражнения. Вы видели, что справа в нижнем окошке видно учителя, и поэтому эффект присутствия учителя сохраняется. Кроме того, вместе с учащимися прорабатываются упражнения, которые затем они могут проработать самостоятельно, используя свой e-book. Следующий слайд. Ага, это же видео. Дальше. Ну и хотелось бы сказать, что if we teach today's students as we taught yesterday, we rob them of tomorrow. На самом деле, сейчас мы живем в совершенно других реалиях, и нам всем нужна перезагрузка. Нам, нашим детям, родителям наших детей, всему нашему социуму, сообществу, поскольку мы понимаем, что так как мы работали раньше, мы не можем работать сейчас. Если мы будем продолжать работать так, как мы работали раньше, мы просто будем воровать у своих детей будущее, воровать завтра. Поэтому нам самим необходимо, в первую очередь, нам необходимо самим перестроиться. И прежде всего, нужно помнить, что nothing is impossible. The word itself says, I am possible. Я знаю, что учителя английского языка – это самая передовая часть учительской интеллигенции. Это те люди, которые могут все. И они хотят, и они делают, и они будут это делать. Завершая свое выступление, я хотела бы выразить слова благодарности Международному образовательному центру «Индустрим» за представленную возможность поделиться с вами теми наработками, которые есть. Я думаю, что вы все получили сегодня очень много полезной информации, которую придется использовать вот буквально уже на днях. Я благодарна Международному образовательному центру «Индустрим» за возможность сегодня видеть и слышать представителей издательства Express Publishing по учебно-методическим комплексам, в котором мы работаем. А также, конечно, я бы хотела выразить благодарность администраторам, модераторам этого семинара для учителей английского языка, потому что как бы там ни писали, звук плохой,
еще там что-то. Это их работа, и работа не самая легкая. Вы сами знаете, что такое провести урок в Zoom, когда у нас всего-то 15-20 учащихся, или там 25-30 родителей. А здесь, когда у нас участников более 500, и технические возможности, к сожалению, интернета, подключение к интернету не столь хороши пока еще, это достаточно сложно. Поэтому большой респект модераторам, всем участникам позитива. Все у нас получится. Главное хотеть, главное стараться. Если есть какие-то вопросы, пожалуйста, пишите, всегда рада буду ответить и помочь проконсультировать. Спасибо, до свидания.
Спасибо большое вам за вашу прекрасную презентацию. Как всегда, все было супер. И, уважаемые учителя, как я вам обещала, по завершению нашего вебинара вы все получаете КТП, поурочное планирование, сертификат, весь сегодняшний материал, который был озвучен нашими спикерами, иностранными, нашими методистами. То есть всю необходимую информацию, которую вы сегодня прослушали где-то в связи с интернетом, она вся будет выслана вам на почту. И по завершению хотела бы еще вам напомнить про наш конкурс, который новый мы запустили с 1 августа. Давайте лучше один раз увидим, чем 100 раз услышим.
Необходимо снять видеоролик длиной не более 1 минуты, можно селфи-видео, в котором нужно рассказать о себе, о своих учениках, о своем хобби, о подготовке к онлайн-урокам или о своем времяпрепровождении на каникулах. Выбор за вами.
Приветствуется творческий подход, чувство юмора, креативность. Обратите внимание, снимать нужно только горизонтально. В конкурсе будут 2 категории победителей. Одних выберут с помощью интернет-голосования, а других профессиональное жюри, в которое войдут представители образовательного центра «Индустрим», Express Publishing и победители наших прошлых конкурсов. Главный приз – крутой планшет и много других технических принадлежностей для работы онлайн. Свое готовое видео присылайте к нам на почту. Покажите всем, какие вы крутые! Новый конкурс для учителей.
Don't worry, teacher. Конкурс, который продолжается до 10 сентября. Ждем ваши заявки, ждем ваши прекрасные видео. Сайт туда скидываем, мы также продублируем вам ссылки, которые будем делать рассылочку сегодня или завтра.
Құрметті әріптестер, конкурс туралы көрдіңіздер. 10 қыркүйекке дейін өздеріңіздің өтініштеріңізді жіберуіңізге болады. Телефон номеріне хабарласып, положенияларыңыз жоқ болса, сол положение бойынша сіздерге жібереміз. Конкурс ережесін. Ал енді құрметті әріптестер, Express Publishing мен Edustream білім беру орталығының атынан сіздерді келе жатқан жаңа оқу жылымен құттықтаймыз. Сіздер осындай қиын қыстау заманға қарамастан жұмыс жасаудасыз. Сіздер осындай енді сіздерге зор денсаулық, творчестволық табыс тілейміз. Біз біргеміз, сондықтан күшіміз бен қуатымызда арта түспек дейміз. Балалардың білім деңгейі сіздердің атқарып жатқан жұмыспен тікелей байланысты. Сондықтан еңбектеріңіз жемісті болсын дегіміз келеді. Келесі кездескенше сау саламатта болыңыздар. Ал қазір сіздердің пошталарыңызға, барлықтарыңызға осы бүгінгі күннің материалдары, сертификаттар жіберілетін болады. Егер тағы да басқа сұрақтарыңыз болса, телефон номеріне хабарласуыңызға болады. Қазір мына жерге телефон номер жазылады, соған хабарласуыңызға болады. Рахмет.
Следите за нашими новостями на Фейсбуке, edu.iz. Подписывайтесь на нас, следите за нашими последними новостями по конкурсу, по методической оснащенности, если вам будет наша помощь. Ну, а компания Edustream, официальный представитель Express Publishing, с вами не прощается. Просто говорит вам до свидания, до новых встреч. Самое главное, всем нам терпения, успехов, здоровья в новом учебном году. И сейчас я еще раз продублирую ссылочку. Нам очень важно знать обратную связь в проведенном семинаре. Может быть, где-то были слабые стороны, которые мы будем, конечно же, улучшать. Всем самое главное здоровья. Удачного всем вечера.